Welcome back, DIVEBOMB IndyCar podcast to, you guessed it, another episode of the off-seasoning. The grind never stops on the DIVEBOMB IndyCar podcast, off-seasoning. And we have one bit of news to go over this week. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the trivia challenge that we did last year. And then we're going to finish off with a bit of history like we always do. And honestly, this is one of my favourite bits of history that I've done. I'm looking forward to this one. Quite a bit for this period. But anyway, we'll get on to that at the end. And as we said, the news from the week is that Rahal Lanigan Racing have completed their lineup with DeFrancesco returning to the series after a year out. He's going to be in the number 30 entry, which was occupied by Pietro Fittipaldi throughout the course of 2024. So he'll line up alongside Graham Rahal and Louis Foster in 2025. Steps in after a year out of the sport. Obviously did 2 seasons at Andretti Global, which weren't, let's face it, weren't particularly incredible seasons. We sort of long suspected that DeFrancesco would be back, and this was a seat that he was potentially rumoured with, but now that is confirmed. So with that, we have 3 more drivers to announce, the 2 at Dale Coyne Racing and the 1 at Juncos Hollinger Racing. But for now, we need to reflect on DeFrancesco's announcement. One of the more timid announcements, I think, but hardly a surprise to see him back, I'd say.
Yeah, no, it's not really a surprise. And I do understand the frustration surrounding the whole pay driver argument, but at the end of the day, that's part of the sport. And I mean, this is a multi-year deal for DeFrancesco. It's been stated by the team. And I think the fact of the matter is that the Rahal Lanigan Racing team needed the money. And I think you can argue there are probably better options out there. You know, in an ideal world where money was not a factor, you would probably have gone for a Linus Lundqvist or a Rinus VK, who are in a higher bracket and have proven themselves more than Devlin DeFrancesco has done. But ultimately, in order for a team to kind of sustain themselves, they need that sort of influx of money that drivers like DeFrancesco, or like we've seen with Stingray Rob at Juncos Hollinger Racing, they bring the finances that can essentially propel the team onwards. And, you know, in the case of DeFrancesco, it can help to supply RLL with Louis Foster, who is, by all accounts and what we've seen in Indy Next, a supreme talent that they are very fortunate to have on board for his rookie season. So yeah, pay drivers are a vital part of motorsport. I think that's something that people maybe don't always look at. They indirectly kind of allow the sport to thrive, and it's an integral part of what allows the teams that are at the heart of the series to kind of remain where they are. I mean, DeFrancesco has a lot to prove. There's no doubting that. He finished 23rd and 22nd in the standings with Andretti, who are one of the powerhouse teams. You know, for comparison, Pietro Fittipaldi last year finished 19th in the standings for RLL. So if they want all 3 cars in the leaders' circle, they will no doubt need improvement both as a team and from DeFrancesco. What we have seen from him during his time at Andretti, he's obviously done a little bit of GT racing in IMSA kind of in the intervening period while he had that year out. I mean, he had 3 top 15 finishes in each of his 2 seasons with Andretti, which not fantastic. Pietro Fittipaldi finished inside the top 15 5 times in what was, by all accounts, a disappointing season last year for RLL.
But in fairness, DeFrancesco got more points than Fittipaldi did in his debut season, and was only 9 points off what Fittipaldi got in season 2. But that is an Andretti versus an RLL, to be fair to Fittipaldi.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is the caveat, obviously, of DeFrancesco being in the 4th Andretti entry, which is more separate to the other cars. We've seen other drivers kind of struggle comparative to the favoured entries on that team before. But I think it was kind of telling that DeFrancesco was cut from that lineup, and Andretti saw a real improvement when they downsized from the 4 cars to the 3 main entries. You know, he didn't finish any higher than 12th in a race. And I think for a team of Andretti's stature, regardless of what entry he is in, that's not great. He only really had the one standout moment on the Indy Road course where obviously qualified 5th, sent it around the outside to lead. And then I guess it was quite befitting of his IndyCar career that he still finished 19th and off the lead lap.
Obviously, Hy-Vee departed the team, which is something that people do also need to consider. DeFrancesco's funding is important to that. And the cost of the sport is going up. You know, Juncos Hollinger Racing, Stingray Rob, has brought a huge amount of money into that team, but even so, they still can't get Connor Daly in yet because Daly's still got to work on even more budget. So budget is becoming a huge issue. That's obviously a wider IndyCar issue where the costs of the series are currently too high, especially after the hybrid. And look, paid drivers are an important part of motorsport, but you get to a point where how many drivers in this field are going to be paid drivers, and that detracts from the people like Lundqvist and VK that people do want to see in. Obviously, you're never going to have a completely fair and equal world in motorsport. But you come to a point where if the costs continue to inflate, well, we're going to have more people like DeFrancesco, like Rob in the field who can bring the funding. So it's a shame, but it is the unfair nature of the sport we all love, unfortunately. But reflecting on DeFrancesco's IndyCar career to date, unremarkable is probably a fair word. I think when it's done, that moment is leading after one corner, that probably not too much to really shout home about. I mean, no top 10 finishes in 2 years at Andretti's underwhelming. Yes, he was on a separate program, but as you said, this is Andretti we're talking about. This isn't a Foyt or a Coin, for example. This is a top team, and DeFrancesco sort of regressed in the second year, which I think was another minor issue where we didn't really see the step up in performance that maybe we should have seen in his second year. Yes, he finished one place ahead in the standings, but he almost had 30 points less, that's not what you want from your second year driver going down in points by quite a significant margin. Will he be an upgrade on Fittipaldi? I mean, that entry overall has struggled for years with Harvey, and then Fittipaldi didn't really fix the gaping hole that Harvey had sort of left. So will he solve his issues? Probably not, but at the end of the day, is it something that I'd accept to see Louis Foster in? Maybe. So again, it really depends how the team do, because the year wasn't as good as they expected, and you don't want someone like Foster sitting around in the midfield after the all DeFrancesco's investment. The other thing is a 3-year deal, which is really that's not very common unless you're a Colton Herta or a Pato O'Ward or an Alex Palou to have that sort of contract. So obviously there's going to be various different clauses and plus ones and whatever, but that is also something I think is slightly surprising, that a 3-year deal for DeFrancesco. Pretty insane.
Yeah, I think that circles back, though, to the very pertinent point that you made about these spiralling costs. I mean, we read out within the last couple of months what Romain Grosjean had said to Racer as he kind of detailed his pursuit of returning to Hunkos-Hollinger Racing, and ultimately with the likes of the hybrid system coming in, costs are just going out of control. And that's ultimately preventing maybe your best quality drivers from being in the picture, and teams seem to have a couple of options. You can, if you are fortunate enough, go down the Ed Carpenter Racing route, where they have got more investment in the team, which has allowed them to have a free pick of a couple of drivers that they really wanted, or you have to get a driver on board like a DeFrancesco, like a Rob, who can ultimately help to fund your program and maybe fund what will be 2 more competitive seats.
Yep.
And this is what leads to teams surviving ultimately in this landscape.
Yeah, same applies to Kevin Simpson, because the same applies to Marcus Armstrong to some extent. There are a few in the field who are in the same boat. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I think just to touch on RLL as a whole, it is a big year for them, because they've taken the gamble on Foster as a rookie. I say gamble. I mean, I think everyone knows how good he is and how highly rated he is, but nonetheless, it's a rookie, and a rookie will always have issues here and there. It's inevitable. Even the best rookies will do. So it's a big year for them. I mean, they just did not make the step forward they needed to on ovals, even though they had a slightly better Indy 500. And it did feel like they stepped back on road and street courses as well. So they really need to rebound. I think obviously losing Lundgaard is a big thing. Maybe you look at Foster as being the guy who can kind of replicate that journey that Lundgaard went on with the team. I think the potential there is very high. But yeah, it's a lot of change there again. They haven't had much stability in recent years.
But Lundgaard felt like a team leader, though, more so than Rahal, in my opinion. And
yep.
Foster doesn't give that. Well, DeFrancesco's not going to give that. So it will be Rahal giving the team direction, which will be, well, obviously he has done for years, but it felt like Lundgaard was the one resurging that team, and he was the one at the front of the team. So that's going to be Graham's responsibility for the next year. So how does that cope? And look, where will DeFrancesco finish? It's hard to say. You wouldn't imagine being any better than Andretti is in an RLL. So time will tell. But it's a necessary move with Hy-Vee gone. I think that's possibly been. I think there was actually a rumor going around that Porsche was linked to that seat until Hy-Vee had left. So that's made a big difference quite clearly. So again, 3 seats left. Daly's expected at Hunkos. That's a funding issue, and then Coin. Who knows? Who
knows? But again, it's one of those you can find out. We
tomorrow.
Could find out in the next week, and we could find out when it comes to St. Pete. I know everybody says that, but it's the reality. We don't know what's going to go on there. Obviously, there's talk of will they get an investor in like Ed Carpenter Racing have, which I think would be fantastic for the team, but there's no news on that yet. So remains uncertain.
Right, moving on. I've just seen something, which is the top 10 IndyCar drivers and merchandise sales in 2024. Do you want to list?
Go for it.
O'Ward, Newgarden. This is surprising. Rossi's in third. Dixon, Grosjean, Herta, Pillow, Power, McLaughlin, Kirkwood. Which is surprising. Newgarden, as I said, was second. Rossi being third is also surprising. O'Ward being first is probably the least surprising thing ever. O'Ward's jersey was a top-selling driver product, followed by his die-cast, and it was Newgarden, Rossi's, and Dixon's jersey. Toronto had the highest-selling stop on the schedule outside the Indy 500. Parkside Collectibles are a top 5 of overall product units sold. So, if you are looking for a last-minute Christmas present for your IndyCar fans and friends, where better to head than the Fallen Model Shop website? Just for all the UK listeners, you have until Wednesday to purchase any items in time for Christmas. So get it done before then, otherwise no IndyCar gifts under the Christmas tree for you. But Fallen Model Shop is the best place to get your IndyCar merchandise in the UK and the rest of Europe.
You can use the discount code 5BOMB, or one word, FIVEBOMB, to gain 5% off products on the FMS site. Visit the highlights on the DIVEBOMB Motorsport Instagram account for a link to an exclusive VIP section on the FMS store, courtesy of DIVEBOMB.
Or you can head to the DIVEBOMB website, where you'll find a pink banner on the homepage, which will take you to the Fallen Model Shop website, or you can go to fallenmodelshop.co.uk.
Stay tuned for exclusive giveaways, events, and other content.
In brief other news, IndyCar started wind tunnel testing for 2027 with the new car. Did we speak about the new car last week? I can't remember.
I'm not sure we did, actually, no.
Just so you know, the new car's in works for 2027. It's not very popular, from what the team owners have said. Apparently it's exactly the same, but it's just got an F2 wing on the back, amongst other things. Let me find out what else was said, for example. One team owner apparently sent an email urging to do a complete do-over and sent an image of the Rebel X1 designed by Adrian Newey, which is quite funny. As you said, it's like an F2 style of wing bolted onto the current one, which people didn't really like. It was very similar in likeness to the current one. Mark Marr said, number one priority isn't to see how inexpensively we can do it, because there's going to be a consideration as things get developed more narrowly, is what was said. Basically, all team owners were unhappy. Michael Shank said, let's make a car people will talk about outside of IndyCar. Let's up the game. Let's turn it up a notch with something that really brings people to IndyCar. Dale Coy said it's not futuristic. It looks the same. It's like the current car. You updated it by a couple or 3 years. It doesn't look like the modern car. I think we can take a bigger step. Let's make something that has a wow factor. Bobby Rahal said, I did get the sense that what we presented was a done deal, which is interesting. They're all speaking about the Adrian Newey concept, about how that's so exciting in comparison to this car. Chip Ganassi said nothing's locked in, but obviously he's focused on the safety maintenance and that sort of thing. So not a great start for IndyCar's new car, where all the team owners hate it and come up with their own ideas, but it's in the wind tunnel, which is interesting. I think a point which I saw was just quite good is you'd rather focus on having a good product than a futuristic car which completely destroys the product. But I mean, there's still a lot of work to do before then.
ultimately, I think you need to strike a balance, right? Because it's all well and good something being futuristic and yeah, okay, you need something that's up to date with modern technology, modern trends that will maybe attract partners, sponsors, engine manufacturers, more drivers, more ultimately just that more attention, that more, I don't know, just bringing those eyes to the series that will help the series to grow. But it's all well and good having this wow factor and this ultra funky and fancy and modern car concept, but you also need to not sacrifice the products, because as much as the DW12 has been in circulation for a long time and an update is needed, the products on the track, okay, there were some concerns with the hybrid system and you do need a lighter car, but the product has generally still been pretty good, and the car still needs to be robust, which also obviously helps from that safety standpoint. But yeah, it does have to be something different, something modern, something that stands out. But you just can't sacrifice what is at the core, which is this USP of hardcore, just hard aggressive racing, which is what makes IndyCar really appeal. I think just slightly adapting the current formula isn't the way to go. Do you maybe do that initially and then think, okay, a few years further down the line, we'll go for something more drastic? Possibly, because this car has been in circulation for so long now that we currently have the DW12, that you need a change and you need a change quickly, but we don't want them to rush into some concept that ultimately doesn't work. So yeah, I think the wow factor is important. I think this is a major moment in determining kind of how IndyCar does grow moving forward, but I think they also need to tap into the wealth of knowledge that you have in the paddock, for instance, in order to make sure you aren't building something that looks amazing but races terribly or is brittle. You need to have that nice middle ground.
So we have a repurposed DW12, which means we'll have people driving it who are younger than the chassis in a few years' time, at the rate we're going, which is not ideal. We didn't mention it, but Louis Foster and Toby Sowry completed a test at Laguna Seca the other week. No dramas to our knowledge, which is fine. Foster was slightly quicker by about 0.2 compared to Sowry, but again, it's a test, so it doesn't really matter. Again, Sowry's obviously working behind the scenes to get a space in the grid with Coyne, so we'll see where that takes us. You'll find out on probably about the 2nd of March next year, if you're lucky, if he's going to be in that seat or not. And Chip Ganassi Racing holding garage sale as well this week.
That was really cool, and I'm very, very envious of everyone who lives in Indianapolis, but at the same time, kind of just in the entire surrounding area, because there were people coming from all over the place, it seems like, with fire suits and race suits, front wings. It was amazing. I am very envious. I wish we could have been sent something.
It will cost. How much is an IndyCar front wing?
This is what I was thinking as well. I wonder how much they were selling these race suits for instance, because there were some unbelievably cool things there. And I mean, credit to Chip Ganassi Racing, because that is a phenomenal initiative.
Like, is this to get rid of stock, or is this to make money, or both?
Both, I guess.
Both? Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe. We'll never get one in the UK. We should do it. Someone should do something one day, potentially. Right, as we said, we're going to move on to the trivia challenge, which we did last year. So last year we sort of did it by accident in an absolute episode emergency, but that's a whole different story that we won't get into. But it's a nice time filler for off-seasoning, so that's fine. So last year we had some topics, which I think was top 5 in each race, sponsors who've done sponsors to death this off-seasoning, so I won't bother anymore, and laps led. So we'll do the same again this year. So just a reminder, both our topics are on a race-by-race basis. So we'll go over race by race across the calendar to decide something. And let's say, for example, if the topic this year was the top 5 in each race, we'd name as many from the top 5 as we remember. If you get one wrong, you're out for that round, if that makes sense. So one chance for each race. So we'll alternate. So your topic will be retirements from the season. So any DNFs And then what will my topic be?
Your topic will be lap leaders at every race.
Right, we'll start off with St. Petersburg. For the sake of... Right, disqualifications are included in this, to make clear.
Disqualifications are included in this as in a disqualified driver...
Is counted as a did not finish or a retirement.
Okay, right, okay. So does that mean that the disqualified race winner does not actually count as having led any laps?
Oh, I'm talking about my one. Your one is up to you.
Okay.
As long as you make it clear. But
right. Okay. Retirements. Are we giving each other numbers for the amount?
We can do. Yeah, we can do.
I think that probably makes it easier.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll start you with. You have 6 to get
6 retirements.
St. Petersburg.
Marcus. Well, if we're counting the disqualifications, that's Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin.
Correct.
You have Marcus Ericsson had an engine problem.
He did.
Marcus Armstrong was the first to crash.
He
was. I think Roman Grosjean didn't finish after his contact with Linus Lundqvist.
Correct. Although this is mechanical. Or something.
Okay. And I think I'm thinking of Christian Rasmussen crashing out at Long Beach. So I'm not entirely sure of the 6th one, actually, off the top of my head. I'll go for Linus Lundqvist.
Nah, Stingray Rob.
Okay.
Went off course in turn 1 and won the restarts.
Yes, I do remember that. Was it a braking issue?
I believe so, but it says off course as his reason for retirement.
Okay. Lap leaders then. There were 3, including the disqualified race winner, which obviously you were going to get him.
So I'd hope it's Newgarden.
It was Newgarden.
Pretty sure that it was Lundgaard.
It was Lundgaard, yeah.
He never got the point for most laps led, which is a bit of a joke. But and then was it Herta led 1?
Herta led a single lap, yes.
Yeah, nice and easy start.
Nice work.
Long Beach, 2 for you to get.
Christian Rasmussen.
Yep.
Did Jack Harvey retire?
It's McLaughlin.
Oh, he had his failure, didn't he? Of course. I jumped the gun on saying Harvey because he was caught up in Rasmussen's mess.
I think Harvey was 2 laps down, but he did make the finish. So, yeah.
So you had... this is quite a nice way of recapping the season, by the way. This is quite nice. Yeah. So, Long Beach, you had 6 lap leaders.
6? Well, Dixon was definitely 1 because
Indeed.
he won the race. Power was certainly 1 because he led the opening kerfuffles and stages.
Yep.
Now, this is where it gets slightly difficult. Rosenqvist was on pole, but he got overtaken straight away. But I think he was credited with leading a lap.
Yeah, so Dixon led 42, Power led 15, and Rosenqvist led 1, technically.
Rosenqvist led 1, fine, which I think was just basically the lap to the grid. Now, I don't know at this point. By his sake, I'm going to go Alex Palou.
Alex Palou did not lead a lap.
Okay. Surprise.
Joseph Newgarden led 19, Colton Herta led 7, and Kyle Kirkwood led a lap as well.
Fair enough.
This is a great memory test.
It is. Alabama. Yes, 3.
Stingray Rob had a heavy crash.
He did.
Alexander Rossi's wheel fell off.
Yep.
I feel like Christian Rasmussen maybe didn't finish.
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
It was a lap down. He spun, but he did see the checkered. It was Pietro Fittipaldi.
Oh, because of Pato's. Yeah, Pato's messy race.
Correct.
So, lap leaders at Barber, there were, once again, 6.
Well, McLaughlin was 1.
Indeed.
So he led from pole, so this doesn't make it easy. Power, I'd presume.
Howard led 1 lap. McLaughlin led 58, just for context.
Ferrucci definitely led some.
Led the same number as his car number. He led 14.
So I've got about 70 already. And there's 3 more. And you've gone off on a pretty disastrous weekend. I've got a feeling you might have led lap somewhere. But again, it's always Palou as well. Let's go Newgarden.
Alex Palou with 12 was correct, but Joseph Newgarden was
Oh,
not.
no.
Linus Lundqvist led
Palou.
4. And,
What did he? I didn't think he led any.
Will Power did you say Will Power?
I said Power.
So Felix Rosenqvist was the other with 1.
Okay. Indy GP, there was 1.
Rinus VK had a mechanical.
It's all a checkered, though.
Did he? Wow.
Santino Ferrucci.
Interesting.
Is
I said that so confidently.
No, yeah, Santino. I do remember him having an issue, but Santino Ferrucci is the only registered retirement.
I remember VK being sat on pit lane for an awfully long time. Fair enough.
Right, lap leaders. How many are there?
You have 8 lap leaders.
8. Palou's 1.
With 39.
Power is 1.
Power is not 1. So Alex Palou led 39. Christian Lundgaard led 35. Marcus Armstrong 3. Scott McLaughlin, Graham Rahal.
How did Power not lead a lap? I do not believe that. Maybe he didn't. I did not believe Power did not lead a lap.
That isn't, because he was in that fight all race long.
Wikipedia says he led 39, but that must be wrong.
No, so the official lap report from IndyCar says Alex Palou.
That's from because I saw this race the other day and noticed Power and Palou had led the other lap, so Wikipedia is wrong.
Yeah, Alex Palou led 39, Christian Lundgaard 35, Marcus Armstrong 3, Scott McLaughlin, Graham Rahal, Pietro Fittipaldi all led 2, and Scott Dixon, Alexander Rossi all led a single lap.
I am fuming at that. Right. Wikipedia's lied to me, which has thrown me off. Right, 500. There are 10 retirements.
I'm surprised there were only 10. Try and go in order. We lost Pietro Fittipaldi, Marcus Ericsson, and Tom Blomqvist at the start.
Yep.
Going in order is already not going well. Catherine Legg didn't last the race, nor did Felix Rosenqvist because of mechanicals.
No.
Marco Andretti, Colton Herter both crashed out because we only had the one Andretti left.
Yep.
How many have I still got?
3.
Linus Lundqvist crashed.
Yep. Lundqvist is on there, so there's actually 11. My apologies.
So I still have 3 to go.
Yep.
Will Power crashed.
Yep.
Aaron McLaren. Ryan Hunter-Ray.
Yep.
So much chaos, I genuinely can't remember.
Marcus Armstrong.
Oh, of course, he had his very, very unfortunate engine issue at the very start, didn't he? If I've counted this correctly, there were 18 leaders.
18. Okay, right. Newgarden.
Yes.
Has to be 1. O'Ward.
Yes. So Newgarden 26, O'Ward 12.
Rossi.
Rossi led 12.
Dixon.
Dixon led 12 as well.
Palou.
Palou led 1.
Oh, my goodness. Larson.
Larson led 4.
Daly.
Daly led 22.
Robb.
Led 23.
McLaughlin.
Led 64, by far the most laps.
So what am I on now? I'm on 9, so I'm halfway there. Lundgaard.
Led 4.
Power must have led some at some point.
Will Power has let you down once again.
I can name so many more as well. Simpson led some. I know it doesn't count for anything.
Simpson led 3.
I said I can name more and I'm already stuck. No, I'm not. Ferrucci. Did he lead any?
Led 1.
He led 1. See, I can name all of them now. It's frustrating. How was Power not leading any laps anywhere?
Because he had a not very good race car and fell down the pack quite early.
I thought he led quite early on, but maybe I was wrong.
No. So Scott McLaughlin led the most with 64. It was Joseph Newgarden with 26, Stingray Robb with 23, and Connor Daly with 22. We had 3 drivers on 12, Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon, and Alexander Rossi. Rinus VK led 8. Then Christian Lundgaard and Kyle Larson on 4. Ed Carpenter and Kiffin Simpson on 3. Kyle Kirkwood with 2. Alex Palou, Santino Ferrucci, Callum Ilott, Christian Rasmussen, and Graham Rahal all led 1.
I literally don't think Power's led a lap anyway. I don't believe this. Power Indianapolis has let me down. Detroit, there was 1, believe it or not, which I found rather bizarre.
Wow.
Like everybody crashed in that race, but there's only one person who didn't see the checkered.
Kiffin Simpson.
No, it's Christian Rasmussen.
Do we know what happened to Christian Rasmussen?
And a mechanical.
Oh no, I was thinking of the wrong thing. A mechanical. Okay. I was thinking of the Ilott Lundgaard the year before, actually. God, because that was a race with a lot of cautions as well. That's quite
A lot of
impressive.
crashes, but yeah, there was no one retired from a crash.
This is how robust they need to make this new car. Detroit, we had 6 lap leaders.
6. Oh my goodness. Dixon.
Led 35.
Herter.
Led 33.
Stuck after this point because all the people who randomly lead won. Oh, hang on. Lundgaard led at some point, didn't he?
Led 6.
When it started raining. This is the one time I don't go for Power, and Power's led a lap. I want to say Pelot, but I feel like he fell away early. I'm just going to say Pelot.
Led 1.
Oh, hallelujah. Thank you. So I actually got 2 more, so they're better than this for a race. I don't really remember. Did McLaughlin lead any at some point early on?
No, McLaughlin did not before he stuffed it in the barriers. So Joseph Newgarden led 1. And you're going to kick yourself about this one. Kyle Kirkwood led 24.
I was going to say Kirkwood after Lundgaard, and then I completely forgot. So that's a shame. Road America, there were 2 people who failed to see the checkered.
I don't remember this race at all.
Neither do I, which is worrying.
It was the one Penske dominated, didn't they? I don't remember many details. Did Armstrong? I feel like Armstrong and Lundqvist both did carry on after their contact at the start. But actually, I will say Marcus Armstrong didn't take the checkered flag.
Yeah, the mechanical.
I will also go for a completely... I think Kiffin Simpson crashed out, or was crashed out by Christian Rasmussen.
Yep, that's correct.
Nice. So, Road America lap leaders, we had 7.
7? Where are all these lap leaders coming from?
Split strategies.
Power.
Led 9.
Newgarden.
Led 10.
McLaughlin.
Led 18.
Herter.
Led 9.
Were those the top 4 by any chance?
Yes.
So unless the restart got waived, which I don't think it did, I don't think Lundqvist would have led a lap unless he was off sequence. Well, he was off sequence. But how far off sequence was he? Pelot.
Led 3.
Okay, that's good. I'll take 5 out of 7. But Dixon had that weird tyre failure, so I don't think he would have led any. O'Ward wouldn't have led any because they messed up a strategy. Lundqvist
did not lead a lap.
Fine. I was hoping it'd be randomly off strategy, so he just randomly ended up in one. But
there was a trio of 3s: Alex Pelot, who you got, but then it was also Kyle Kirkwood and Felix Rosenqvist.
I was just going to say Rosenqvist. Literally do not win bet either than leading laps. But fine. Laguna Seca. This is a race I remember nothing about.
How many retirements?
5.
Marcus Armstrong.
Nope. He made the checkered.
Did he? Can I just carry on for the sake of it?
You can carry on for the sake of it, but yeah.
Graham Rahal and Kiffin Simpson.
Yep.
I think you might have to put me out of my misery.
Giotto crashed.
Okay.
VK had a mechanical.
Of course.
Harvey had a mechanical.
Okay.
He pulled over on the pit straight. Rahal and Simpson, obviously, you said.
This is just outlining as well the amount that VK had issues. I remember the VK mechanical phase.
Yeah, it was a weird period.
So Laguna Seca, you did not have 1 lap leader because I've just looked at the Indy Next results. While I look for the IndyCar ones, who was the Indy Next lap leader?
I presume it was faster.
It was indeed. There were 5 lap leaders at Laguna Seca.
Hello.
Led 48.
Kirkwood.
Led 24.
Newgarden cycled to the front, but I don't know if it was first, which is throwing me off, before he decided to spin off about 4 times. Herter.
Led 8.
Rossi.
Led 10.
Oh.
1 more for Full House.
I gotta say Newgarden.
Led 5.
Yeah, bingo. Nice. Is that the first one I got all of them? I think it is.
I think it is.
No, St. Petersburg. Otherwise, happy with that. Quite opposite fortunes for us in Laguna Seca, but this one should be easy. Mid-Ohio, there was 1.
Should be easy.
Maybe I've
Oh,
covered.
Scott Dixon
Yeah.
before the green flag.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of in-race incidents, but no. Hybrid wobble. So mid-Ohio, we had 3 lap leaders.
Well, O'Ward and Palou are 2 of them.
Palou with 53 and O'Ward with 24.
Lucas?
Scott McLaughlin had 3.
Okay. So to keep the off-season a little bit longer, we'll save the other half of the season for some point. But hopefully that's rejigged your memory. We'll have a look again between now or sometime after New Year. No cheating between now and then, please. So we're going to history, which is 1965 to 1969. So this is a really significant period in Indy 500 history. There's a lot of stories I can tell here. I know it's about IndyCar, but we always end up doing Indy 500. But anyway, doesn't matter. Jim Clark won in 1965 quite famously. Had the first rear-engine Indy winning car. Same year he won the F1 World Championship. Only time it's ever been done. Clark decided to skip Monaco that year to do the Indy 500. 1965 was the first time the qualifying draw was used. It used to just be first come, first serve, but it's quite controversial. So 1965 was the first time they used a draw to get guaranteed runs. And this race was the first time the Wood brothers, so they were a famous pair in NASCAR, were invited on Clark's team. They were known for their rapid pit stop work, which apparently was very influential in Clark's victory. 1966 had a major crash on the main stretch. The only injury was AJ Foyt. This featured 11 cars. The only injury was AJ Foyt, who cut his thumb when he was trying to climb the fence to escape the wreckage.
That sounds like Stingray Rob's crash at Iowa this year. It was Iowa, wasn't he, where he went airborne and all he got was a burn on his finger?
When he was trying to touch the hot aero screen, yeah. So only 7 cars finished. We had likes of Jackie Stewart and Graham Hill participate in this Indianapolis 500. And this one was actually going to be my original story until I found a better one. But in 1966, there was a scoring error. So we actually don't know who won the 1966 500 between Jim Clark, Graham Hill, and Gordon Johncock. Because the reason why is Clark spun twice, but he avoided contact on both occasions, didn't stall, and just came back into the pits for the team to check the car. Now, his team thought they were ahead of Hill at the finish, but because the scoring pylon kept on changing and changed somewhat sporadically as well, no one really knew what was going on. So Hill, who won the race, had an uneventful race and was apparently surprised to be the winner, and apparently nobody saw him pass the car all day long. So there's a theory that Clark had a lap omitted by mistake because Al Unser's car was very, very similarly painted to Clark's, and he crashed out on lap 161. Some scorers thought it was Clark, but Clark drove past straight afterwards, which led to a little bit of confusion. Some actually believe 4th place Gordon Johncock to be the winner because he completed 500 miles in less time because he was involved in that lap 1 accident, but he had to restart in pit lane. And they didn't count his first lap at the pit lane, so he basically had a 1-lap penalty or race. So there's actually a debate whether Gordon Johncock won it. In 1967, Parnelli Jones lost it with 3 laps to go, and when a $6 transmission bearing failed on his car. This race saw the likes of Jochen Rindt, Pedro Rodriguez, and Jackie Stewart attempt to qualify. Denny Hulme was in the field as well, so more F1 world champions at the time. Jochen Rindt said he didn't think much of the 500, and in Indianapolis, I always feel like I'm on my way to my own funeral. And he said, it is catastrophic. I only drive there because of the money. 1968 saw the last front-engined car at Indianapolis. So Clark was the first winner with a rear-engine car, in 65. 1968 was the last front-engine car with a man called Jim Hurtubise. This was the wettest month on record for the Indianapolis 500. And then heading in 1969 was when Jack Brabham raced in the Indianapolis 500. There's other stories from the 1969 Indianapolis 500. So Mario Andretti won his only Indianapolis 500 in this period. So he won for a man named Andy Granatelli, who was a car owner. The car they built was a really, really innovative car, basically. However, Andretti crashed it in practice, totally destroyed it, and had to get an older car, which was entered just to obtain extra garage space. Andretti won the race in the end, nursing the burns from the original crash he had, and he won in the backup car. And before the tradition where Andretti would be kissing in victory lane by the Queen of the 500 Festival, Granatelli got there first, which is one of the most memorable images from the 500 of Granatelli kissing Andretti on the cheek, and that's the rumour which apparently started the Andretti curse. Or one of the reasons was that kiss. But that's not my story. My story belongs to a man named Leon Jigger Stiraz. I can't really say his surname right, so I'm just call him Jigger because that's his nickname. So this is in 1969, and it's one of the most famous incidents in Indy 500 history. So as we said, the draw was introduced in this period, and in 1969, Jigger was actually the first in line to qualify. So there'd been a lengthy rain delay, so he took to the track late in the afternoon to make his first attempt at the day. So he completed his 3 laps at 161.8, 162.3, and 160.6. However, on the last lap, his crew waved the runoff of the yellow flag, and that was that. The run was run off, didn't count for anything, because they felt it was inadequate to make the field, because they obviously thought they'd make another attempt later on. So the next driver went out, who's a man named Arnie Nepper, but rain fell during his warm-up laps, and it actually washed out the remainder of qualifying weekend. So if Jigger's crew had not waved off the final lap on Sunday, he could have actually been the only qualifier on qualifying weekend and been on pole position for an entire week, and probably would have actually started on pole for the Indianapolis 500. So during the second weekend of time trials, which is bump day and that sort of thing, which would usually happen, Jigger waved off his second attempt and waved off his third and final attempt because the speed was not fast enough. So his first attempt, which was waved off, would have been good enough to qualify for the race. But obviously where it rained and no one else did it, he had to come back for bump day and then wasn't quick enough for next week. So after that, Jigger came back to make the field every year up until 1975, but he never qualified.
Wow. I love this segment. There are so many stories in there alone that I thought would be the story, and then it kind of just kept getting better.
So yeah, that's one of my favourites. Jigger never making the Indianapolis 500 because his team waved off a run which would have got him pole position, which is funny to think about. Something like that would never happen nowadays. But well, that's because there was obviously the guaranteed entry, obviously guaranteed in the first day. That's now changed, but it was a weird loophole where he could have been on pole and he ends up never qualifying for the Indianapolis 500, which is a funny story. And then Andretti curse we'll get onto more probably next time because there is another half to this story, but that's also maybe why the Andretti curse started and the scoring era of 1966 where 3 people could have actually won that race. But for this week, that is all we have time for. Next week, there is actually hopefully a plan. As we did last year, we hope to bring back the Christmas special as we did last year. May not be as pompous as it was last year, but we will try and muster up something, and maybe a bit earlier next week, probably Sunday or Monday. It might be Tuesday, depending on how lazy the edit is this week, but it'll be soon. It'll be some point in next week. And then the week after that will be the 31st of December. So to round out the year, we will do the best of 2024, so as we did last year. We'll pick out our best moments of the season. That will lead us into the first week of 2025. And we'll see where that takes us from there, but a bit more orderly for the next couple of weeks, which is very rare for this podcast in recent months. So hopefully you'll be glad to hear that information. But so just before we end, how many days do we have left until cars hit the track?
As this episode drops, it is 73 days until opening practice in St. Pete. It's hurtling down quite quickly now, it feels like.
Until I say we still have 10 episodes to go.
That still doesn't feel like a lot compared to what we started with.
Yeah, 3 months down.
And I must say as well, we must add, we have the annual IndyCar content days coming up on the 14th and 15th of January. So we'll try and cover them as well, all the stories from there. Always quite far in advance of the season actually starting, but that's always fun.
We'll call one of our drivers before then. think I should. So we should know by then. But for this time, thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening. And we'll see you next time.